the Matty Daddy. All gas, no brakes. Tonight is the night. Tuesday night delights. Pew, pew, pew. We're talking fantasy football. And you see him down there, Mike Davis. This is everybody's either hot buy, yum young, or stranger danger. So we're going to hit it hard and hit it fast tonight. And I brought in a special guest. He's taking a little break, and he's back ready to pump out conduct, kick ass, and take names. You can find him at Gridiron Ratings. And, dude, he is top-notch Fantasy Pros expert ranker, Methodical One, a.k.a. Money Matt. What's up, my man? Woo!
Listen, I always like coming on shows when they have these intros, and I just get to kind of experience it, like, in the moment. I'm just all about it. I love this energy.
Hype you up, baby. You are the bee's knees on social media, and just your in-depth analysis is just through the roof, brother. So I am glad to have you here.
I appreciate
on the
it.
quick hitters.
Yeah, no, like listen, when you reached out, I was so about it because it's every time I get asked by someone, I really just truly like I'm appreciative and I'm just a little surprised and I'm like, hell yeah, let's do it.
Hell yeah. Well, dude, Mike Davis, I asked you, I was like, give me a player situation that maybe fantasy players have multiple questions about and could be a little tricky for them. And you said, dude, Mike Davis all day. Yeah. And it makes sense. So before we get into what's ahead, let's rewind it a little bit and kind of fill everybody in on Mike Davis leading up till this season.
So for Mike Davis, 2020 was all about filling in for McCaffrey, and he honestly did McCaffrey-like stuff. He had a top 12 finish for a guy that didn't have more than like 1,150 yards, which is strange. But when you play as much snaps as he did, when you had as much time on the field, and when you're able to come down with a lot of receptions, that matters for fantasy, especially if you're going to be able to, play as much and stay healthy like it did. And receiving backs have a good tendency to do so. Davis, I call him Neo personally because he dodged a lot of bullets this offseason. So he's basically a rent-a-back right now for Atlanta. At age 28, he was cut in 2019 from Chicago after a few games. They wanted to get rid of him from Montgomery. He comes in for Atlanta, and I thought the perfect spot for them to pick up a guy was Kerryon Johnson, and now he's ruining Miles Sanders' life. So over here in Atlanta, I'm thinking, okay, well, let me just start digging into Mike Davis. I don't want to love a guy just because – surprise, I am a Falcons fan. Yeah. I hide that to a lot of people, so I get to talk about the Falcons without seeming like a homer. But, small contract, 2-year, $5.5 million, $3 million guaranteed. That's not bad for a team that's kind of, okay, you might not be our guy in, 2 years from now. But we liked what you did for our division rival in Carolina. And we have the new coach. We have the new OC. And we're still thinking about being competitive. Maybe not the greatest team, but competitive. What can you do for us? And Mike Davis currently fits into a whole spot that's very tricky because you have no one coming in there besides him. You lost your three top snaps from 2020. Todd Gurley with his 1.5 knees. Who's know where he's going to end up? Brian Hill, he's on the Titans. He might be like a special teams player. He's way down the depth chart via ESPN. Might be like fourth guy on the list right now. Eno Smith, also currently a free agent to my knowledge. If he's with someone, I don't know who. Right. But if you lose everything the Atlanta was throwing out there in the backfield for the most part, because you have Quadri Olison, which would be the next guy up in terms of what was from 2020. Currently, in an odd sense of it, Mike Davis is the cheapest possible featured running back in the NFL. And that is strange.
Well, as you're speaking Falcons football, man, like a lot of turnover. You said Gurley's, busted knees.
Julio. Obviously, Julio. I was just burying the lead. Yes, Julio.
So, dude, let's lead into it. We saw what he did with McCaffrey. I think, RB12 on the year, something crazy like that. Yep. Mm-hmm. So let's talk Falcons offense, kind of wet the whistle here. Look at this offense, kind of fill us in on what we have.
So, obviously, you still get the possible top 5, both for like dynasty purposes and redraft purposes. I am really a redraft guy. I do redraft for Gridiron Ratings. I'm going to be ranking as such. And I look at that. So if I'm looking at just a 2021 Falcons, yes, we lose Julio and that it hurts, right? It does hurt. A few things did get picked up in that trade, though. You do have now Russell Gage and Hayden Hurst as possible fantasy options. Not typically, guys we're looking at in the top 30 for wide receiver for Russell Gage, although he is rising, obviously, from, after the draft and Julio. And Hayden Hurst is getting closer to a top 15 tight end for me. And I like, obviously, the presumably greatest tight end of all time in Kyle Pitts. Now,
Oh,
what was it? The 4th overall pick on him. Yes, a lot of people think he might make a transition to possibly a wide receiver. But currently right now, I'm just thinking of him as a tight end. I treat him as a tight end. I'm going to think of him as such. So I think there's an obviously possibility of them running more heavy sets with both tight ends out there. If you have more heavy blocking, or if you have more attention from linebackers on these tight ends over the middle of the field, for the guy we want to look at here, Mike Davis, part of the quad squad, we want to really think of, can he get more yardage picked up when you have attention brought away from him, from linebackers, from safeties covering the middle of the field, any of that sort of stuff. If he can go out into the flat and pick up a few extra yards, if he can go catch it over the middle and he's not immediately jacked up, we like these sort of things, because a guy who wasn't really, known for his rushing in the 2 years he was successful, both with the Seattle Seahawks and last year covering for Christian McCaffrey, and did something that only a few guys have really done. In the last 3 years, only about 9 players have really, 10 included him, have had 600 rushing yards, 350 receiving yards, and 55 receptions. You have guys like, McCaffrey twice, Kamara 3 times, Gurley, Fournette, Le'Veon Bell. He's in a real spot here where he can get to a top 12 finish like he did in 2020 with not even, all those games started, but B, it keeps him healthier. If he's not getting, I'm not a big fan of having a running back run up right past the center and just get destroyed by 1,000 pounds of weight right on him. I'm okay with this. If he can do more receiving stuff, especially with the 17th game added on, he can get there in possibility of being a top 12 running back. I'm not going to guarantee that, though. I love him as, I think, a safe low RB2, especially with his ADP being a lot lower than a lot of guys are really going for. If you have guys like Josh Jacobs going ahead of him, Kareem Hunt, David Montgomery, this is a guy that I like throwing towards the back. And I'm like, okay, if I can pick him up a lot later than I think his production really looks for, that's just free money for me. Only 13 running backs had 200 fantasy points last year, 20 something, wide receivers. If he's a guy who can break into that total, which so few guys do, you're making up value in places that you're really not seeing it, because running back, there's so many guys, just a handful who can even get to 200, let alone to 250, 300 sort of thing.
Well, Arthur Smith, this is a guy who's dominated the run game, his style. Granted, different coaching system, but Gurley,
Yes.
9 touchdowns in 9 games to start off the year last year. They wanted to focus, and then, like you said, he hit the floor hard. But as you've mentioned, dude, this RB room isn't that sexy.
No, and that's really the thing here is Cordell Patterson had about 30 something carries last year. I thought if he was going to get a big workload, a guy his size, it would be probably snapped in half. You like guys who are more compact, they can take hits, they can go down easily. I mean, you can see in this picture here, look at the thigh on this guy. So,
Matt, my boy.
I like what Davis, obviously, again, age 28, that is a hit on him. We're just talking about 2021, and that's really what I want to look at for him. But a few things here. So you had Davis out there, no less than about 60% of the snaps was he on the field when he was covering for McCaffrey, with multiple weeks of 90, 95, 100% in 1 week. He was the guy who can carry big workloads for them. And that's important because you have the Falcons head coach now currently, Henry last season, running back 3 in total snaps. And the Falcons offensive coordinator, while he was, I think, Rangone, while he was the passing coordinator for Chicago, he was used to a Montgomery, who was the 2nd in total snaps. They were used to having 1 running back systems. Davis, with a bad running back room, if they don't pick up anyone off the streets, it's just Mike Davis, and I can't see anyone really taking too much away from that. Unless Ollison has a good training camp, or Cordero Patterson, they really get him involved gadget-wise, which I think is the primary way to do so. And they do lose some wide receiver stuff with Julio out there.
I think I've been waiting on Quadri Olson a little too long. But dude, you were getting me sauced up, man. I'm thinking, like you said, no backfield. Then you're busting out Henry, Montgomery. So I want to get down to the nitty-gritty and talk some trades. When it's trade talk, hat goes on backwards and we get to work. So I'm going to hit you with the redraft one because we are all about redraft with Mike Davis. I'm going to hit him with the dynasty a little later. Mm-hmm. Let's talk this one. This is ADP's a little different, but this will kind of describe where you think Mike Davis is on your radar. Mike Davis, Kareem Hunt, high-end RB2 last year. Everybody's trying to mold clay with this Brown system where you just RB committees, but they work. So, but you have, like you said, Mike Davis. He's a lone wolf. So in redraft, where you got these guys?
So Davis is coming in as running back 18 for me currently. I do full PPR. My half PPR is my full PPR rankings. I like him for full PPR quite a bit. I have him in my tier 4. That's really from my RB 14 to my RB 19 currently. Carson and Sanders on the bookends for that. Hunt is currently, I think, in the trickiest spot in all of fantasy right now. The running backs about 20 to like 26 or so is really, really tough. And Hunt falls into that currently for me. These are guys who are not doing primary workloads. They're being receiving backs like Etienne. And currently, we don't know exactly how much of the rushing is going to do, but we like what he can do. But a lot of people are saying like a Percy Harvin role. That's fun. That's really fun for fantasy. And Hunt, a lot of people forget that he was a rushing champion at one point. When he came in that first season with the Chiefs, this is a guy who led the league, was like 1,380 yards, something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Hunt is capable of leading any backfield. If Hunt was on the Falcons, I would never talk about Mike Davis. But there is talent and there is possibilities and there is the chance to, that like the real path to fantasy good stuff. And Mike Davis has that, and currently Kareem Hunt behind Nick Chubb, who really, outside of Derrick Henry, I think is the second best pure runner in the NFL. It's really tough for me to say Hunt's over Davis in this situation. I do like Hunt. We saw him actually be a little bit better when Chubb was available than when he wasn't. He had a little tough stretch there in the middle when Chubb was actually out. Hunt's going to be a guy where you're going to be a little possibly unhappy with the consistency. So you're going to see weeks where touchdowns are king. We know this. Guys like Josh Jacobs lived off that last year.
Right.
Hunt is going to be in there possibly, towards the third, like that third drive, maybe in a quarter, anything that's going to be like, all right, let's give Chubb a breather, give Hunt a drive. He can go out and make his day on one drive, but you can also possibly get screwed on that as well.
Right.
So Mike Davis, Mike Davis for me, I think is the priority there. Kareem Hunt tier 5, still top 24. That's kind of not saying anything because I'm really not a fan of this area here. But Mike Davis over Kareem Hunt for me currently.
What I'm seeing with this dude is Kareem Hunt's going like average draft position. Don't quote me, like right now it's like 4th round. Davis is 6. So you're telling me I can stack up with another receiver, another skill position, and then have, Mike Davis 2 rounds later? That's what we call a hot buy.
Yeah, it's a drop because, even though they're very close in terms of like fantasy rankings and people's projections and all that, with Hunt within, the first 4 rounds, I don't like that. But Mike Davis, if you're literally not even, you're thinking of him off the bat as a flex option for you, then that's just value. That's big value if you get him. I love that.
I'm going to give you a break for a second. I'm going to hit these comments up. We got Gary Zam, the man, talking the talk and walking the walk. Thank you, Gary. We had Gary on. We were talking, I believe it was Aaron Rodgers.
Tricky. That's a tricky guy right now.
I mean, these are ones we've got to lock down and find out. Don't make stupid moves right now off of what's going to happen later. Then we got Johnny. Johnny saying trade talk, baby. He loves it. It's Mike Davis until Melvin Gordon gets cut and goes to Atlanta. But is Melvin Gordon, is he washed up or is it just me? Is he a better pass catcher? Because I don't think he is than Davis.
It wouldn't be surprising if they did do a move like that because, again, Davis really is a primary pass catcher. That is his X factor. That's what we want to talk about, again, for full PPR. That's really important. With guys like Eckler, who can be, possibly the running back 1, that is an additional piece, running quarterbacks, receiving backs.
Right.
We love that for full PPR. If they do that, it wouldn't surprise the hell out of me. But until Mike Davis is just the only guy you want in Atlanta, I want all of Mike Davis.
Guys, the tide is already turning tonight for Matt over there. Mike Davis season. They're loving it. I'm not letting you out of the woods yet, baby. We got more trade talk.
I could be here for an hour. You guys.
Now I know you're a redraft extraordinaire.
That's me.
I want you to dabble a little bit in Dynasty.
Okay.
So this is more, Dynasty, obviously everything's about youth and everybody's scared of age. Let's go Mike Davis and Brandon Cooks, the ultimate oft-injured wide receiver 2 that nobody wants. Brandon competing Cooks, team. Are you a Davis guy in Dynasty, or are you willing to sell it for Cooks and just hope no more concussions?
So this one's tough because while I think Rodgers has to be sort of baked into your idea for what the Packers are going to do, I think there's at least a 50-50 shot, if not more. I'm currently not thinking Watson at all is in Houston. He doesn't want to be there. There's all the turmoil from the off the field stuff, which I like keeping it to football. Yeah. And again, I don't like what he. If it's true, I don't like what he did. But just strictly talking football, Tyrod Taylor is currently the quarterback for this team, a guy who's basically just been kind of let go and thrown away for guys like Josh Allen and guys like Baker Mayfield, and it's like, all right, Brandon Cooks with Tyrod Taylor, what does that look like? Now, Brandon Cooks is like dramatically down there in terms of like for redraft, around like wide receiver 37 right now for ADP,
right?
Which is really low. This is a tough spot because Davis is really just, to me, a 2021 running back. He doesn't have the contract like Kenyon Drake just got over for Vegas to be a bench warmer, possibly $14.5 million compared to $5.5 million here for Davis.
Davis, you are a competing team in Dynasty, Maddie. Yeah. You were this close to the ship last year, baby. And you have the option of investing in Mike Davis or Brandon Cooks. Oof.
And it's really just a kind of like a pure point situation, something like a flex.
Yeah, like let's go. Yeah, let's play it safe. Let's go flex
because
that takes a little bit of it.
Yeah, it's really just I think I go Davis, and it's just purely on the Tyrod Taylor thing. I do think Cooks is just way under the line. I think even with Taylor, I think you can still hit 180 fans again. With the 17th game, it's going to be different with the total points and all that. Davis, for me, right now, again, running back being what it is, it might look. Well, listen, I can come August and someone else walk through the door for Atlanta, but right now, I do like Mike Davis. I really do.
Let's do one more dynasty, and then I'll get you kind of end of the year how you see this working out.
Sounds good.
All right, you've done the competitive thing. You're a rebuild team, man. Okay. Your team you haven't had good luck, injuries, just a couple bad trades. You're sitting around with a 209. Kadarius Toney, a first-round pick, is still sitting there, a guy that's getting no love in Dynasty, but in the NFL, the scouts love him.
Yeah. And this one's tough because 2021 is the year for Daniel Jones. And I'm a little high on him. I'm like, quarterback 16 or so like that. I do like him this year. You add in Galladay, maybe Evan Ingram wiped the butter off his hands, and you get Barkley back. I'd like to think Toney is going to be the second receiver sooner rather than later when that actually happens because he's very talented. I know Kyle Pitts kind of overshines him quite a bit but you do have Toney who can go out there and do big things. And I do like it. Is it possibly, what the wrong pick for the Giants? Sure, because they do it. I think people just wanted Darius Slayton to be a thing. I think that might be the reason why everyone didn't like this. But, with Toney and, with Davis, because Davis, you have kind of, I feel you have to evaluate as like a guy you should be probably trading a second round for, but no one will do that for a rookie pick because he's probably gonna be like a third. Or something along that line. With the receivers, with the young receivers, especially since Davis is strictly this year, and you're rebuilding, and you're not competing this year, I'd rather wait and see with Toney because if 2022 can be Josh Allen's gone. I mean, sorry, Daniel Jones is gone, or he's sticking around. They do have the weapon in Galladay. Maybe Toney develops into something, and you have. And you have Barkley still being, the dynamic all-around, featured back that you want a, real team to build around. I do like this Giants team. I do think their coaching staff is competent, and I do think if they went and picked up Toney, they have an idea about using him in half the correct way. I know some people are comparing him to the Bengals wide receiver who never made it and actually is now on the Giants, whose name is
John Ross, baby.
Yes, that is the common connection that he's just really fast, but he just never might make it. Round 2, let's see. They really never gave him a good shot over there in Cincinnati. And I know it's quick hitters and I talk all the time, but it's just I think listen, if you're rebuilding, Davis is not your guy. He's not. He's
All
not
right.
2022. He's 2021.
Dude, we've hit it from redraft standpoint. We've hit it from dynasty. You have delivered on all points and then some. Before we get out of here, you said RB 18. I believe you said the fourth tier of RBs. Right
Yes.
there is kind of that sweet spot before it just falls off.
Yep.
So 18, what are your end of season? Say everything goes, he plays all games. No injuries. Could this guy sneak into an RB1 threshold?
I think he can. It's going to be the touchdowns. It's going to be the rushing work. So the nice thing about working for Gridiron Rings is we have our own projections in house that I didn't have to do. So I get to see, okay, what's the team looking like? What is the in-house projections going to say? Let me try and take this. So, around 1,000 yards rushing is nothing too crazy for me. I don't think he's going to go for 1,300 yards. He's not going to do that even with the 17th game. It's going to be what's his receiving numbers going to look like, and is he going to get possibly to 7, 5, 6, 7, 8 touchdowns? The higher we get towards 8, the more happy I am. And the receptions around 55 is totally in his wheelhouse right now. Projections wise, we have about the 6th most receptions at all running backs with the ADP added on, with the receiving yards that come with that. This is a guy that if it all breaks right and stays healthy, and I think I would like to think so if they're going to use him the correct way. Now, he does have a tough first 4 weeks. He faces New Orleans and Washington, two of the top 3. He also has Tampa Bay in that division. There are weeks where Mike Davis does have a possible low ceiling, but a solid floor with the receiving. You never want to see New Orleans on the schedule. Tampa Bay is brutal against rushing running backs, which Davis is not. I'm not going to treat him like, obviously, Derrick Henry and all those other guys, they can just probably run 100 yards on everyone every single game. But Aaron Jones or, someone with just like median, Miles Sanders, something like that. If Miles Sanders went up against Tampa Bay, I'd rank him lower than I would Mike Davis, because Mike Davis does bring the receiving game work that I think he can. Sanders can catch balls as well, but Davis, I specifically want to hone in on that. And if it goes right, yes, an RB1 season, it's totally in line for him. But I don't want to straight up recommend that. My recommendation for him,
you were safe with the baby.
Safe. His ADP is safe. His possible workload is safe. Getting on the field is important. And if he has a coordinator and a head coach who is used to just having one guy out there with currently no other competition that I'm really baking into going against him. If Olsen looks great in camp and they say they want to do a 60-40 split or any of this sort of stuff, great. Okay, I will change my opinion on him. And that's important. It's important just to say, with these quick hitters and all that, it's like, listen, I love the guy, but I love him because there's things working right for a position that I could, I'm not going to compare him to Eckler and, guys in the first round like Cook and all that.
Exactly. We're going off of ADP. We're going off of, there's more. It's a calm before the storm.
Yes.
We're only in, June, but right now, this is the perfect storm.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, John, thanks for chiming in with us tonight. Terrible defense, comeback mode, a lot of screen passes, dump off.
Tough schedule. They have a tough schedule. They have a very competitive schedule. And I think that's important because you're going to keep them in games offensively, and the defense is bad. Defense is very bad. Now, we do get injuries that somehow, break down, like, Keanu Neal was like hurt like 3 years in a row. And I'm like, all right, what's going to happen here, guys? But if their offense is staying out there, it needs to be because they need to, catch up and do things. And Davis is the catch-up guy. He can do that sort of work. We saw him do that for Carolina. This just has all the things are working right for a guy you don't want it to work for, because it's like he's 28 and he's Mike Davis. He got cut by the Bears. He's a guy I don't feel is sexy, but when you have all these things working for him, he's out there, on the catwalk. He's out there for Victoria's Secret. I love it. That's the big
killing
thing.
Him, dude. Matt, real quick, and then I'll send us off. You said Keanu Neal. I was talking to Jerry Jones earlier. Matt said Keanu Neal's healthy, 100%. Dude, I'm not saying another word. I'm going to show this. Or I'm going to talk, but. Gary, dude, you deliver, you 100%. Matt, you're the mailman, and you just delivered the goods. Mike Davis on quick hitters. Pow. Send us out of here, Matt.
Listen, trust me, I appreciate you having me on. I loved coming on here. I don't know how quick this was. I feel like this is going to be your longest quick hitters. It's just, I could talk all day about guys, but listen, very soon, very soon on Gridiron Ratings. I'm talking with the boss man right now. We're getting it all together over there. Get my rankings up there. We're going to have the show on there. Articles talking about players I love way too much, like Mike Davis. But listen, I love what you're doing over here, Matt. This is a lot of fun. That's the key thing. If you can have enjoyable conversations about players, like you might see me hating on Josh Jacobs. I hate on Josh Jacobs because there's reasons why I'm going to hate him. I don't hate on players just because. I have to really, dig a little bit into. Otherwise, this is an advice, industry. You're
right.
If I say I'm
for fun, but you're trying to win, dude.
Yeah, listen. Zach Ertz. I was taking Zach Ertz every single round 5 last year. Like every round 5, and I got sunk in like every league on that. But I'm gonna go. If I have a draft right now and Mike Davis is in there round 5, round 6, he's on my team. That's I have my rankings are public, and that's what's gonna happen. And listen, I just I can't wait for more football talk. I love this. Any single time you need me on to do something, I'm all about it.
You'll be back, ladies and gentlemen. That is will be a steady regular. We'll see plenty of Matt. Methodical one you delivered tonight, dude. Gridiron Ratings. Go find him on Twitter. This dude is smart is an understatement, and he's killing it everywhere and anywhere. Everybody give him a follow, a listen. And Gridiron Ratings, baby, up in smoke. This stuff is going to be the bomb.com. Till next week, all gas, no brakes. It's been a pleasure. My treasure.